Welcome to Forbidden Files. Imagine the worst thing that could happen to humanity. Not a war, not a virus. Something quieter, something slower. The food runs out. The food runs out. Not because of a drought, not because of a flood, but because the seeds we need to grow new food simply no longer exist. The genetic knowledge built up over 13,000 years of human agriculture, gone. The genetic knowledge built up over 13,000 years of human agriculture, gone. The people who understood this threat built something extraordinary. 800 miles from the North Pole, inside a frozen mountain. A vault that holds over 1.3 million packets of seeds from every corner of the planet. A backup copy of human civilization's ability to feed itself. And it has already been used. Not in some distant apocalyptic future. In 2015, because of a war in Syria. To understand why this place exists, you need to understand something most people never think about. Human civilization runs on approximately 30 crops: wheat, rice, corn, potatoes. These are not just food, they are the biological foundation of every economy, every army, every city in human history. Take them away, and everything collapses. For thousands of years, farmers cultivated thousands of varieties of each crop, different shapes, different resistances to disease, drought, and frost. This genetic diversity was humanity's insurance policy. If one variety failed, another survived. Then came industrial agriculture. Efficiency won. Farmers abandoned hundreds of local varieties in favor of a small number of high-yield commercial crops. Faster, easier, more profitable, and far more vulnerable. The danger of this was demonstrated catastrophically even before industrial farming existed. The Irish potato famine. Ireland's entire population had become dependent on a single potato variety. When a fungal disease wiped it out, 1 million people starved to death. Another million immigrated. A country's population fell by 25%. Because of a lack of genetic diversity in a single crop. 1 million dead. In the 1990s, an American plant scientist named Carey Fowler began working on a solution. Fowler had spent years documenting how thousands of traditional seed varieties were disappearing as industrial farming replaced them. He believed the world needed a single, ultimate backup. The location was chosen with extraordinary care. Svalbard sits on permafrost, permanently frozen ground hundreds of meters deep. Even if the vault's power failed completely, the permafrost would keep the seeds frozen for decades. The site was geologically stable, no earthquakes, no volcanoes, above sea level, and managed by Norway, one of the world's most politically stable countries. Construction began in 2006. Workers drilled 120 meters into the sandstone mountain and built 3 separate vault chambers carved directly into the frozen rock. The tunnel and entrance were designed to withstand a nuclear explosion, an earthquake, a direct weapon strike. The total cost, approximately $9 million. A remarkably small price for the world's most important insurance policy. The total cost was paying for being precisely trained off. On February 26, 2008, the vault opened. More than 100 countries sent representatives. Scientists, politicians, and farmers gathered inside a frozen mountain in the Arctic and deposited the first 320,000 seed samples. What the vault contains is staggering. As of 2025, over 1.3 million seed samples, representing more than 13,000 years of agricultural history. Wheat varieties from Ethiopia that have survived drought for centuries, rice strains from the Philippines that withstand flooding, potato varieties from Peru, descendants of crops that fed the Inca Empire, Cherokee Nation heirloom seeds from North America, Cherokee Nation heirloom seeds from North America, Cherokee Nation E. Each sample is sealed in a moisture-proof aluminum packet and stored at -18 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, seeds can remain viable for hundreds, in some cases thousands, of years. Some seeds deposited today could theoretically still germinate in the year 3000. For the first 7 years of its existence, the vault was never used for its intended purpose. Then war came to Syria. In Aleppo, Syria, sat one of the world's most important seed collections. The International Center for Agricultural Research in Dry Areas, ICARDA, had spent decades preserving seeds from across the Middle East: drought-resistant wheat, heat-tolerant barley, lentil varieties adapted to desert conditions, seeds that could feed millions in a hotter, drier world. When the Syrian civil war began in 2011, ICARDA's staff began evacuating. By 2012, most had fled. Armed factions moved into the area around the research center. The seed collection was at risk. The Sidnesian Aryan Tremass carries risk of some turbidity, and what it tests perfectly was expressed. When the Syrian civil war began in 2011, Econair and ICARDA blowing unofficial. Fortunately, ICARDA had deposited safety duplicates of their collection in Svalbard in 2012, just as the situation in Syria was beginning to deteriorate. As Carrie Fowler later described it, they sent the seeds to Svalbard just before all hell broke loose. In 2015, ICARDA re-established itself in Morocco and Lebanon. They needed their seeds back, and they made the first ever withdrawal from the Svalbard vault. Medium pause. Around 38,000 seed samples, wheat, barley, lentil, chickpea, were withdrawn and transported secretly to Morocco and Lebanon. The shipments were conducted in secret to avoid any security risk during transport. When scientists opened the packages, the seeds were in, and I quote, top shape, perfectly preserved, exactly as deposited. A collection that had survived a civil war because someone had the foresight to send copies to a frozen mountain in the Arctic. Digitization. By 2017, ICARDA had regenerated the samples and redeposited copies back into the vault. The system had worked exactly as designed. A catastrophic loss had been prevented. But just as the Syria story proved the vault's value, another story raised questions about its future. In October 2016, Svalbard experienced record-high temperatures. The permafrost, the frozen ground the vault was built into, began to melt. Water flooded into the entrance tunnel. The vault's own designers had not anticipated this. The permafrost was supposed to stay frozen. It was the whole point of choosing that location. The seeds themselves were not damaged, but Norway invested immediately in significant upgrades, new waterproofing, improved drainage, and additional mechanical cooling. The vault was reinforced against the same warming climate that made it necessary in the first place. The vault was reinforced against the same warming climate damaging situation. There is something quietly extraordinary about this place. Most of the world's great vaults exist to protect money, weapons, or power. This one exists to protect the ability to grow food, the most basic thing human beings have ever needed. The Doomsday Vault was built on the assumption that something will go wrong. History, including the war in Syria, suggests that assumption is correct. The question is not whether we will need it. The question is whether we will be glad it is there when we do. Hit subscribe. New video every week. And next time you eat, think about where those seeds came from.